Are you willing to gamble away your freedom, your health, and your very sense of self on the promise that a nursing home will solve all your problems? Because that's exactly what I did, and I'm here to tell you, it was the biggest mistake of my life. My name is Ruth. I'm 85 years old, and I have a confession. I regret moving into a nursing home more than I regret anything else I've done in my 85 years on this earth. At 82, my family convinced me this was the right choice. They insisted it would keep me safe, that I'd have 24-hour medical attention, that I'd be around people my own age, all those good things you read about in brochures. But let me share the raw, unfiltered truth. Once you're in, it's a different world. It might look pleasant on the surface, clean hallways, friendly staff, people smiling in promotional photos, but reality is often quite different. I know you might be thinking, Ruth, maybe it was just your facility. They aren't all like that. Perhaps. But talk to anyone who's been in a nursing home for a few years, and you'll see a pattern. You might notice the same frustrations, the same feelings of abandonment, and the same regrets, ones that I wish someone had warned me about before I signed on the dotted line. If you or someone you love is on the fence about this life-altering step, then keep watching. I'm not saying nursing homes are evil places that ruin lives. Some people do need them for advanced medical care, but there's a long list of truths that most glossy brochures and well-meaning family members won't tell you. By the end of this, you'll have 10 cold, hard lessons to think about before you make a choice you can't easily undo. Stay with me until the end, because these insights might just be the push you need to explore better options. And trust me, there are always better options. Let's begin. Hard truth number 1. Your independence becomes an afterthought. I never thought I'd see the day when I had to ask permission to go out for a walk, or even to take a shower. But that's what happened. Before I moved into the nursing home, I lived in a small apartment. It wasn't fancy, but it was mine. I'd get up whenever I wanted, some days early to catch the sunrise, other days I'd sleep in. If I felt like making French toast at midnight, guess what? I'd do it. Once you enter a nursing home, your life revolves around their timetable. Breakfast at 7:30 sharp, lunch at noon, dinner at 5. Don't like the food on the menu? Too bad. Want a snack at 9 p.m.? You have to ask if anyone is even available to help you. And if you need help showering or dressing, you better hope there's enough staff on shift that morning to assist. If they're short-staffed, something that happens more frequently than you would imagine, your shower might have to wait. That's not an exaggeration. According to a 2024 study by the Elder Care Accountability Project, ECAP, over 63% of nursing homes in the United States report some level of staffing shortage. That translates directly to residents waiting longer for help with even the most basic tasks. It's not about the staff wanting to neglect you. Many are overworked and underpaid, juggling too many responsibilities at once. I remember one particular morning when I woke up at 6 a.m., bright-eyed and ready to start my day. My back was aching, and I wanted a hot shower to loosen my muscles. But when I pressed the call button, nobody came. 10 minutes passed, then 20. Finally, after 45 minutes, a frazzled nurse arrived, apologizing because she was the only RN on duty for our entire wing. By then, my enthusiasm for the day was gone. This is the reality when you give up control of your schedule. It's not just that you're living in a smaller space, you're living in someone else's space, under someone else's rules. And let me tell you, it wears you down. If you think it won't matter, if you think you'll just go with the flow, prepare yourself. Because once that independence slips away, it's nearly impossible to get it back. Hard truth number 2. The world moves on without you. They tell you, we'll visit all the time, or we'll call every day. And in the beginning, maybe they do. I remember how my children and grandchildren came to see me that first month, bringing homemade cookies, photos, and stories from home. But as the weeks turned into months, and the months turned into years, those visits got fewer and further apart. Suddenly, life was happening without me. It's not that they stopped loving me. They got busy. Jobs, school, birthdays, soccer games, everything took priority over grandma in the nursing home. And let me be clear, I do not blame them. We all have our own lives, responsibilities, and struggles. It's just that once you're tucked away in a facility, it's easy to become an afterthought. The phone calls that once came daily start coming weekly, then maybe once a month. You find yourself hesitant to call them because you don't want to seem needy or burdensome. I recall one lonely Thanksgiving when I was assured someone would come pick me up for dinner. But an hour before they were supposed to arrive, I got a frantic phone call. "We're sorry, Mom. The roads are icy. We can't make it." And there I was, stuck in a dining hall, eating turkey with watery gravy, sitting with people who also wished they were somewhere else. Social isolation in nursing homes is a well-documented phenomenon. The CDC reported in a 23 bulletin that up to 48 of long-term care residents experience some form of loneliness or social isolation, which can lead to depression and a host of physical health problems. Loneliness doesn't just hurt your heart, it can sap your will to stay active and engaged. Once you realize people aren't showing up like they used to, a dark feeling sets in. You've become invisible. If you're the type who thrives on relationships and family ties, think long and hard about how being in a facility might strain or diminish those connections. Yes, some families are the exception, making a real effort to visit constantly, but from what I've seen, that's rarely the case. Hard truth number 3, you lose your sense of purpose. One of the worst side effects of moving into a nursing home is the creeping sensation that your life no longer has meaning. Before, I would do small errands for neighbors, bake cookies for my grandkids, and even volunteer at the local library reading program. But when I stepped foot inside the nursing home, those activities all but vanished. The environment doesn't encourage you to wake up with a mission. Meals are prepared, rooms are cleaned by someone else, medications are handed out on a schedule. You basically exist in a bubble where everything is done for you, whether you like it or not. At first, you might think, that sounds great, like a permanent vacation. But it gets old fast. Even on vacation, you have the freedom to explore, try new restaurants, or go on excursions. Here, your so-called excursion might be a craft session in the common room if you're lucky. I've watched vibrant, active people slowly decline into a state of perpetual passivity. My friend Beverly, who used to volunteer at a soup kitchen every week, ended up napping in her wheelchair half the day because she had nothing else to look forward to. She told me once, "I just don't feel needed anymore." That broke my heart. The same woman who once coordinated an entire community food drive now spends her days wondering if anyone would notice if she skipped dinner. It's not just about chores or schedules. It's about that deep human need to be needed. Whether it's caring for a pet, watching the grandkids, or contributing to the community, having responsibilities gives us a reason to get out of bed. The alarm bells in my head really started ringing when I realized I was waking up every morning asking myself, what's the point? If you're not careful, that question can drain the life right out of you. Researchers from the National Institute on Aging noted in a 2022 report that maintaining a sense of purpose can slow cognitive decline and improve overall well-being in older adults. Yet, the structure of most nursing homes inadvertently strips away these opportunities. If you crave a sense of usefulness, be warned. It's an uphill battle to keep that spark alive when everyone around you assumes you're just waiting to be cared for. Hard truth number 4. Health declines faster than you'd expect. When I moved into the nursing home, I was managing my own medications, cooking my own meals, and could get around with just a cane on my rough days. I honestly believed that with professional assistance on hand, my health would remain stable or even improve. But the reality was far different. Within months, I started noticing changes. My legs felt weaker, my stamina decreased, and I was relying more on staff for tasks I used to handle on my own. Why does this happen? Part of it is that when everything is done for you, meals, laundry, cleaning, you move your body less. A 23 study from the Geriatric Activity Institute found that older adults in communal living environments often reduce their daily physical activity by as much as 40 compared to when they lived independently. Those subtle changes in activity level can accelerate muscle loss, joint stiffness, and even cognitive decline. Take Harriet, my neighbor in the facility. She was 79 when she moved in, still capable of taking strolls around the block, or so she thought. Within 6 months, she was using a walker. By the end of the first year, she was in a wheelchair. Now, obviously, some of this was due to her aging body. It's not like living outside a nursing home magically stops you from getting older. But she admitted to me she never expected her decline to happen so quickly. When you're in an environment that caters to your every need, there's no urgency to stay active. Before long, your muscles weaken, your balance suffers, and your confidence plummets. And don't get me started on the mental impact. Once you start feeling frail, you begin to doubt your own abilities. That doubt can be debilitating. If I'd known how quickly I'd lose my physical autonomy, I might have considered a different path. Maybe a part-time home aide, or an assisted living arrangement where I still had more control. Trust me, the more you lean on others, the easier it becomes to stop trying altogether. Hard truth, number 5. Privacy and dignity become foreign concepts. For 82 years, I valued my personal space, closing the bathroom door, dressing myself without an audience, and generally controlling who entered my home and when. But in a nursing home, privacy is a privilege often sidelined by operational policies. Room checks at random hours, staff who knock once and then open the door before you can even say, "Come in," and limited options for solitude. All of these chipped away at what little dignity I had left. I still remember the first time a nurse walked in on me while I was changing clothes. She apologized, of course, but it was more of a quick, "Oops, sorry," than a genuine recognition of my embarrassment. Multiply that experience by a few times a week, and you start feeling like your body, your daily routines, and even your emotional boundaries aren't truly yours anymore. Don't even get me started on shared rooms. Some facilities allow you to pay extra for a private room, but many people, myself included, couldn't afford that luxury. According to the 2023 Genworth Cost of Care Survey, a private room in a nursing home can run you upwards of $120,000 per year in certain states. Sharing a room means sharing your most personal moments, like when you're ill or feeling down with a stranger. And if that roommate has visitors, you can kiss your peace and quiet goodbye. There was a time I woke up at 2 a.m. in pain, but my roommate's family was still in there chatting away, ignoring that I was trying to rest. I didn't want to be rude, but I also just wanted to sleep. It's a small example, but it underscores a larger point. You're no longer the ruler of your domain. Is it any wonder that so many nursing home residents end up feeling like they've lost their dignity? A 24 article in the Journal of Elderly Rights underscores how lack of privacy in care facilities leads to heightened anxiety and depression, particularly among individuals who value independence. If you're contemplating a move, ask yourself how much privacy means to you, because once it's compromised, it's a steep climb back to feeling human again. Hard truth, the 6. The cost can drain your finances and your families. One thing people rarely talk about is just how expensive nursing homes can be. Sure, you might have Medicare, Medicaid, or long-term care insurance, but do you know what all those cover? Sometimes not as much as you'd think. According to the National Council on Aging, The average annual cost of a semi-private room in a U.S. nursing home was around $95,000 in 23, and a private room could run well over $110,000 or more, depending on the region. That's a staggering amount of money. If you've spent your entire life saving for retirement, you might watch those savings evaporate within just a couple of years in a nursing home. And if your insurance only covers part of it, guess who might be on the hook for the rest? Your family. I had a modest nest egg, but with monthly bills, additional fees for specialized care or physical therapy, and other unforeseen costs, I started eating into what I hoped to leave my children as an inheritance. This isn't just about losing money. It's about the emotional toll of feeling like a financial burden. Many of my friends in the nursing home expressed deep guilt, knowing their care costs were draining their family's resources. I recall my friend Josephine, 87 at the time, in tears because her daughter had to sell her own home to pay for the shortfall in Josephine's care costs. The daughter insisted she didn't mind, but the heartbreak in Josephine's eyes told me otherwise. So, here's the harsh truth. Moving into a nursing home can have massive financial repercussions not just for you, but for your entire family. If I could go back, I'd explore cheaper alternatives like home health aides, adult daycare programs, or even shared living arrangements with friends. Anything to keep from sinking such a huge chunk of money into a system that often feels impersonal at best. Hard truth 7. Quality of care varies wildly, and you're powerless to change it. You might think that by paying all that money, you'll receive top-notch personalized care. Sadly, that's not always the case. The quality of care in nursing homes can swing from excellent to downright neglectful, sometimes within the same facility, depending on the shift or staff turnover. Did you know that annual staff turnover rates in some states can exceed 90%? This was highlighted in a 2024 policy brief by the Elder Advocacy Commission. With that kind of turnover, how can you possibly expect consistency in your care? You might have a nurse who knows your preferences one week, and the next week they're gone, replaced by someone who has to learn everything from scratch. Worse yet, some facilities are understaffed to the point where call lights go unanswered for half an hour or more. Picture being in pain, pressing that button and waiting until someone finally comes. Then there's the matter of specialized care. If you have a particular medical need, like diabetes management, advanced wound care, or rehabilitative therapy, you might assume the facility is equipped to handle it. But are they? Really? I've known residents who ended up in the hospital because their nursing home failed to properly administer insulin. One resident got a severe bed sore because nobody repositioned her frequently enough. When you try to speak up or complain, you often hit a wall of bureaucracy. Staff might express sympathy, but the system doesn't change overnight. Even family members who try to advocate for you can find themselves stonewalled. And if you're not physically or mentally able to keep pushing for better treatment, you could get lost in the shuffle entirely. If you're someone who values good, consistent care, be aware that nursing homes can be a roll of the dice. Yes, there are great ones out there, but how do you ensure you land in one of those? And if you do land in a subpar situation, how easy is it to just pack up and leave? Spoiler alert, it's not easy at all. Hard truth number 8. The emotional toll is greater than you can imagine. Yes, the financial cost, the loss of independence, and the decline in physical health are alarming. But the emotional impact can be equally devastating. Moving from a home you've known for decades into a communal environment feels like stepping off a cliff into the unknown. Suddenly, you're surrounded by strangers, many of whom are battling their own decline, physically or mentally. Even if the staff is kind, there's a distinct feeling of being managed rather than cared for. I often felt like a number on a clipboard. Vitals taken, medication given, meal served, next. It's nobody's fault in particular, but that's what happens when you become part of an institution. Depression is rampant in nursing homes. A 23 article from the American Journal of Geriatric Psychiatry noted that nearly 50% of nursing home residents exhibit signs of depression, often due to social isolation, a loss of control, and that gnawing feeling of displacement. I recall the day it really sank in for me. I looked around during a group activity, some generic bingo session, and realized how many people looked hollow, going through the motions without genuine enthusiasm. That sight broke my heart. Was this to be my reality for the next phase of my life? The most heartbreaking part is when you suddenly realize you're not the same person you used to be. Your sense of identity crumbles as you adapt to survive in a system that doesn't always prioritize your individuality. If you have a strong will, you might fight against it for a while, but eventually, the system has a way of wearing you down. Hard truth number 9. You're more likely to stay than leave. One of the biggest misconceptions I had was believing that if I didn't like it, I could leave. Sounds simple, right? Just pack up and go back home or move in with a relative. But life isn't that simple. Once you've been in a nursing home for several months or years, your home may have been sold, rented out, or left unmaintained. Even if you still own it, going back might require expensive modifications to make it suitable for your current health needs. Add to that the emotional hurdle. You might have become weaker, less confident in your abilities, and unsure if you can live independently again. Family members who initially pushed for the nursing home might be reluctant to support your return, citing concerns about safety or finances. And from a purely practical standpoint, after you've spent tens of thousands of dollars on nursing home care, you may not have enough savings left to pay for a comfortable alternative. I've seen it happen so many times. A resident expresses a desire to leave, but the inertia of being in the system keeps them in place. Maybe they attempt to move in with a family member, only to find that arrangement quickly becomes stressful for everyone involved. Or they look for an assisted living facility with more independence, but the cost is prohibitive, or there's a long waiting list. By the time they figure it all out, they've spent yet another year in the nursing home, sinking deeper into that routine. The bottom line is, leaving a nursing home once you're established there is much harder than it appears. If you think this decision is easily reversible, think again. It's usually a one-way street, unless you're extraordinarily lucky or have significant financial and family support. Hard truth number 10. No one warns you how permanent it feels. This last regret ties everything together. No one truly warns you that moving into a nursing home feels like the final chapter, even if you think it's just a temporary solution. It's not a decision to be taken lightly. The brochures will show happy seniors engaged in activities, smiling nurses, and lovely gardens. But what they don't show is how this move can feel like your final surrender. Over time, I noticed small but telling signs. Old friends I used to see outside the nursing home stopped inviting me to gatherings because they assumed I couldn't leave. My doctor switched me to a different practice that exclusively services nursing home residents. Even mail I used to get, magazine subscriptions, community flyers, stopped coming, as if the world had stamped me with a big label, no longers in circulation. In my younger days, I never pictured myself in a place like this, especially not permanently. But once you're in, every aspect of the system subtly reinforces the idea that this is where you'll stay. Until the end. You find yourself thinking, this is it. This is how it ends. And that, my friends, is a chilling realization. If you've made it this far, you're either seriously considering a nursing home for yourself or for someone you love, or you're simply curious about what it's really like on the inside. Whatever your reason, I urge you to think long and hard before making this choice. Explore alternatives, in-home care services, adult daycare, senior co-housing, or maybe just simple renovations to your current home that make living independently safer. Remember that once you move in, the facility tends to become your entire universe. It's not always malicious, it's just how the system works. People adjust, sometimes for the better, but often at the cost of their independence, self-worth, and emotional health. If you can avoid it, or at least delay it, consider doing so. Because I speak from experience when I say that regret is a bitter pill to swallow, and the regrets I've outlined are just the tip of the iceberg. Don't let anyone rush you into this. Don't assume you can try it and see. And definitely don't believe every rosy testimonial you read. Talk to the residents themselves, not just the ones handpicked by management, and see what they have to say. Ask about staff turnover, financial pitfalls, personal freedom, and the emotional climate. Make an informed decision, one you won't look back on with a heavy heart. I'm 85 and I'm still here in this nursing home, sharing my truth. I can't change what's already happened, but I can share my story so others might pause, reconsider, and possibly make a different choice. Aging can be done with grace, dignity, and independence if you fight for it. Don't let a well-intentioned yet flawed system convince you otherwise. If you found any of these insights valuable, please let me know by commenting "I hear you" down below. That way I'll know you made it all the way to the end. And if you haven't yet, do consider subscribing or following so you don't miss future discussions on aging, SAR, and everything in between. Your support means more than you know. It's a reminder that even at 85, my voice still matters. Lastly, if you have a friend or family member who's on the brink of making this decision, please share this script with them. It might be the exact wake-up call they need. Because nursing homes aren't just about convenience. They're about relinquishing control over the life you've spent decades building. Once you walk through those doors, getting your old life back may be one of the toughest things you'll ever attempt. Thank you for reading. Stay safe, stay informed, and may you find the path that truly honors the years you have left.